All right, there we go. And we're live here. This is Web3 Talks, where members of the Web3 Devs group, company come together and we talk about things blockchain technology, how it's being implemented in the business world, and what we're seeing and what we're doing in the space. We have a guest here today. I'm Scott. Got Aaron on, and we have a guest. Neil Patel, or excuse me, Drew Patel. Sorry, that name's embedded in my head. Drew Patel here with Pollinate, and we actually met at a San Francisco hackathon late last year, or December of 2018, where they won second place. So that was awesome. And we asked Drew to join us today to talk about that project and other things that he's involved in the blockchain space. So welcome, Drew. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Can we start with just kind of a quick, what piqued your interest in blockchain and kind of what got you to go to San Francisco for that EOS Hackathon?
So I started blockchain, Bitcoin actually in 2013. So when I was 13 years old, so I was in middle school. I found a video on YouTube. It's like how to make money doing literally nothing. I'm like, hey, this is something I want to do. It's like you open up the Bitcoin miner, you type in Slush's pool, create an account, and you connect to it, and you just let this thing run. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. So I did that while I was at school, and when I was sleeping, I just ran a miner on my computer. Back in those days, I was getting like 0.05 to like 0.1 Bitcoin a day, which is really awesome. And then I spent it all on Amazon or Satoshi Dice. And then that went on until about 2016, where I did my first hackathon in St. Louis. For the first, I think it was actually one of the first big blockchain hackathons. It was distributed trade in St. Louis. I got third there, my first hackathon, my first coding competition. There I learned what an API was and how to use it. So I made a project called Bloodchain, and then I just kept on doing blockchain hackathons from there because it was like, it's pretty good money considering what I'm doing. So I did that, and then kept on doing it, and then found the EOS series. I was following that since it started in Hong Kong, and then just got around to actually going to it, the San Francisco one, because it was actually close, and it was in the US, and that weekend worked. So I just flew over and participated.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, what got us to jump out there is, yeah, we're chain agnostic in the stuff that we work on at Web3 Devs, but we do a lot of Ethereum related projects. And there's one thing that EOS has done a good job of, and that's generating some buzz online. And,
they have a good social media team. Like if you like in Cape Town, the amount of social media, they were on MSNBC Africa at the same time during the hackathon. Like they do, I think they do much better than Ethereum at social media. Like their UI, their outreach, all that stuff is much better than I think Ethereum's.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that really impressed me with what they're doing is they've like eliminated a lot of the barriers to entry of like users, putting the gas fees on the dApp providers instead of on the users. And seems like they've learned a lot of lessons from watching watching Ethereum.
They were
could you quickly talk about the project you work on, and just like how did you go out there with a group of people already planning on working together, or did you connect with those people out there? How did the Pollinate project come together?
So I went out there not knowing anyone. Actually, I knew two guys that ended up being, one guy that ended up being my teammate. But when I went out there, I wasn't planning to team up with him because we haven't ever teamed up before. So one of my teammates, he was Ashwin. Me and him do hackathons like frequently in Vegas. So Money 2020 and Hack HLTH, and usually we're always in like the winner circle or like the finalists. So I'm like, I'm pretty good friends with him. He always gives us feedback and like pitching tips and all that during hackathons. So I knew him, but when I arrived, I didn't think I was gonna team up with him. And then he was with a friend of his from Y Combinator, but the friend wanted to leave because he wasn't actually wanting to participate in the hackathon. So he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, you want to team up?" And I'm like, sure. Like, we understood the stakes are big. This is a global hackathon with a $1.5 million prize pool. We know the stakes were big, so we're like, yeah, screw it, let's do it. So we teamed up, and then like if you know what's his name from Angel Hack, the bearded guy, Brian. Brian, he's like, oh, that's a super team. He called us a super team because we always win all the Angel Hack hackathons that we go to. So he expected us to win this one. So that's how we put together our team. And then his friend from Y Combinator stayed. So we had a really well-run team. Ashwin did C++, so he wrote the contracts. And then I do Swift and iOS. So I quickly threw together the mobile app. And then Ashwin's friend, Lucas, threw together the UI UX and then did project management for us. So we had a really well-rounded team for this situation. And then Ashwin practiced the pitching. And so the idea of Pollinate was do package delivery. I'm trying to put it in the scope of what it was in San Francisco, and I'll talk about how it morphed later on in South Africa. But our initial idea was...
Please hit on that. Hit on like what it was in San Francisco and how it evolved, because that's really interesting. So
in San Francisco, we didn't research too much into the industry. So we just thought of an idea. That's a pretty good idea, but we didn't really back it up with any numbers. So the idea was package delivery on blockchain. So which is a pretty the idea is out there. People know about this. But we took a lot of the EOS features and used those to help refine this idea even better. So package delivery on blockchain, pretty simple idea. Tracking proof of provenance, tracking where it's from and where it's going. There's many different solutions that do that. But with EOS, we're basically allowed to write almost unlimited amounts of transactions because we don't have to deal with gas and all that. So we're able to track like to a T, like maybe every minute, the location of the delivery driver as they go from point A to point B. So you can have real-time feedback no matter who you are in the chain of exactly where that package is, when it's being delivered, and all that type of stuff. Then we can also add staking. So the idea of that you have to pay part of this package as a delivery driver as an insurance, sort of. So if it gets stolen, if it gets lost, the stake will be taken from you. And that's to help counter the idea of this could be cheated by some unknown person, but they're staking it. It doesn't matter if they're unknown or known. We don't have to do any verification whatsoever to them. So we would do that. And then you have the instant payouts. So once the package is delivered, the user confirms it was delivered, they can instantly pay out. And then our initial idea in San Francisco was, say you can pick up a package in, say, Atlanta, and say you're driving like Tallahassee. You can drop it off there, and some other guy will come pick it up from Tallahassee and take it like Tampa, right? That was the initial idea. So it would be middle and last mile delivery. So when I went to South Africa, we morphed it into last mile only delivery when we saw like 50% of package delivery costs are in the last mile. So we're like, this is the biggest market. And then we looked more into developing markets and found that the last mile delivery in developing markets is 3 times as much as in developed markets. So it became a significant market that we really wanted to tackle, because we looked like there's trust issues, there's no speed, no incentives. And how could we solve that with EOS blockchain? We figured that out, and so that's how it morphed into what it was today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great job explaining that too, because like we've done episodes in the past on like what is a hackathon, and explaining or trying to explain why it is that these developers and other people interested in blockchain stuff would come hang out for a weekend and do a bunch of work for free. Like you guys were well compensated for your weekend in San Francisco, but there's plenty of other hackathons where I think you get some pizza and a few t-shirts, and they still have good attendance. So that's talk about a success story and spending a weekend and coming up with something like really cool. What is it? So since going to the finals in Cape Town and all, where is the project now, and what's been happening since then?
So there hasn't been much, because the other 2 founders, I can't really. They've told me that they're both their companies. So one of them works at Mithril AI or Mythic AI, in San Francisco. So he's sort of becoming a project manager. So he's really busy. And the other one, if you look on the App Store, there's an app called Honeydew. He's the like project manager, head of development on that. So they're both really busy with their startups. But we met with Rob Judaison, who is the president of EOS at the after party after the right after the hackathon, and he sort of sold the he pitched the idea of Pollinate to us better than we pitched it to him because he was a judge. He turned around and pitched it to us, and then that sort of started driving Ashwin's juices, and he's like, maybe it is time to do another startup. But those two have sort of been like back to work, heads down on their work. I'm still open to the idea, especially after Rob convinced me of it. So I'm working on sort of finishing our projects and taking a less active role in the current projects I'm working on, so that I can later go and focus on this project and actually build it out.
Cool. I mean, I know I can definitely speak for myself, and I'm going to go ahead and speak for our founders a little bit too, that since attending that event and, you know, interacting with everybody who was there and getting to know the Block One, you know, people and what they're trying to do with the blockchain, it's kind of a constant thing bouncing around in our heads too, with the projects that we're working on and how, you know, using the EOS platform is, you know, and the benefits of like, well, if this was over there, then you know, it'd make this and this easier. So yeah, so we too have had a lot of conversations on like, hey, maybe this is better over there than the blockchain that it's being, you know, currently built on.
Yeah.
What
the EOS,
go right ahead.
Oh, okay. So I mean, like, yeah, the big part, the thing I realized after South Africa was like you have Ethereum on one side. From what I've seen, gone to ETH San Francisco, like, you have a lot of people that are very elitist about the Ethereum chain, the gas problems. I feel that's a huge UX problem. I just think there's many flaws in Ethereum, and just I don't think they're too open to that much change. When you look at, and then you look at EOS, where they're like, whatever works for us. Like, they're like, if you have a database, Dan Lerner was like, if you have a database, you can use our blockchain, and it will. We don't care. Like, they're not gonna be like, you have no use for this blockchain. You're centralized or whatever. They just don't care. They're like, use it. It's an open source tool. It's well built. If you need help, just reach out to us and we'll help you. There's none of that other like politics you have to deal with, like, I guess, in Ethereum. So that's what I really like about them.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked how that, and this is my interpretation, they were really interested in hearing like business, you know, like business plans, essentially. Like, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like so much on architecture and code and all that. It was like, you know, what's something that's valuable to a customer that people are willing to pay for, and that some, you know, party would be interested in paying for this decentralized application to exist in the world. Which is like, you know, that's just a great approach to business, is like, is there a paying customer, and how much are they willing to pay, and do the numbers make sense? So, okay, let's build it.
Yeah, in Cape Town, they didn't even do code checks on us. They didn't care, because it was 100% about building this business. They didn't care how your code looked, if it actually worked or not. I mean, just make it look like it works, like do some UI stuff, whatever. But it was all about, is this a viable thing? Because we know if it's viable and you know your numbers and you put effort into figuring all this stuff out, that we can throw cash at you and you can build this platform, or we can build it for you. But it's all about that business part, because there hasn't been many D apps that have actually taken off in terms of user growth and all that stuff. It's little tight-knit within the Ether community, not really escaping that. So they want something that sort of escapes that.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that the I don't know, and this might have been timing wise. I thought it was cool in San Francisco that it's like you had to have a smart contract that, and I forget the wording exactly, but you had to have like a functioning smart contract, and that was like the minimum, which is like, when you're talking about this space, like, that is such a very low barrier to entry when it comes to a submitted project. But at the same time, we had recently, I attended a couple other hackathons in the past like 3 months prior, and half the final pitches were essentially just ideas. Well, yeah, they were for, wireframes and and we could do this and we could do that and all that, and it there were a third would be generous, but saying a third of the pitches had something that was like actual, usable code. And I say usable at a very low level of MVP or, whatever you want to refer to it as. So it's such a different world of we're focusing on business, business models instead of code. Are you going to Denver for the Ethereum event coming up next month?
Nah, I went to ETH San Francisco. It was sort of fun, but I was like, I've gotten to a point where I only go to the hackathons if the prize pool is good enough, which kind of sounds pretentious, but it's like I guess after the EOS finale and the EOS San Francisco one where we got $300 swag bags, I feel kind of spoiled. And it shows sort of the quality of the hackathon, with a bigger prize pool, more organized stuff. It felt smooth. There was no hiccups. Everyone sort of presented something quality. I wasn't seeing UI designs on stage or in finals, just seeing straight up sketch designs. I think we sort of get that when we go down to lower tiers. We went to ETH SF. Some team came out with an entirely developed product before the even start of the competition, and they presented that and made it pretty far. So I was like, where's the standards here?
Yeah, I tell you what, they really spoiled us in San Francisco with those swag bags, because I'll be wearing that Patagonia and I'll have people come up compliment me on my Patagonia, not even knowing that it was a total swag swag bag thing. There's a few of us heading out to Denver for the Ethereum event, and it's I'm excited about going out there because when I'm out in the Colorado area, I try to hit blockchain meetups and Ethereum, and I'm a bit jealous of the activity out there. It seems they have weekly meetups on each chain and all kinds of subtopics and everything. And so last year I wasn't able to make it out there, but I sure saw all the activity online. But I completely understand on the you have your what entices you to attend.
Also, I'm team EOS, I guess now.
Awesome. Well, do you have any events this year that you're planning on attending already in mind, or are you just kind of keeping an eye on things going on?
From what I've seen in the past 2 years, this around this time is kind of dead. And around this time in summer is usually dead for hackathons. So I think it picks up around March again, and then again it picks up in September for hackathon. So right now, in the next 2 months, I just have something in St. Louis, a very small hackathon at University of Missouri, St. Louis. But aside from that, nothing else really right now. Just taking it slow. Because there's not many big hackathons actually on DevPost or anything.
So let me ask you a question real quick. The one you're going to in St. Louis, I'm assuming it's not an EOS hackathon?
No. EOS would never come to St. Louis. Think about that.
So what kind of tools or maybe pre-built libraries or repos or what have you do you find you can use from one tech stack at a hackathon and apply to another tech stack at a hackathon? You got anything like that?
So what I always I have my stack, which I rarely ever go away from now. So I've used it for the 20 hackathons I've been to, which is I use Node.js backend with Express and then deliver all my API calls through that. And then on the front end, I use Swift iOS. From what I found, people are most all judges, no matter even if they're straight off the streets, they can I think connect with a mobile app much easier than say a React app or something. And you can make really beautiful iOS apps really fast. Apple put a lot of their design presets built right into Xcode, so you can make a really nice app really quickly. So I use that Swift on the front end, and then within iOS, I use a library called Eureka. It allows me to build forms with a few lines of code. And then I used to use Alamo Fire, which is another one which does the querying to my Node.js backend, and then I host a Node.js backend on C9. So with that, it's really fast. And then from there, I just plug in like a JavaScript library from Node.js to whatever platform or API I'm connecting to, because usually I always have like a JS wrapper. And yeah, that's like the best stack, I guess, for me.
Okay. What about things that say EOS does that Ethereum developers could take and apply in their workflow or in their dApps, or vice versa? Is there something you see in the Ethereum side that EOS would stand to benefit from having in their ecosystem as well?
Yeah, so I know that Solidity is so much easier to learn than C++ and EOS. I like some newbie programmer can easily learn Solidity, but then you throw this C++ that they were using it for EOS, and I have no idea what it's doing. I was sitting there just finding examples of the code that we wanted to write on GitHub, and just rewriting the variable names, because I wasn't going to risk anything else, because every time I try to change something like for real, it would break. So, but it makes sense why they're doing it, so because there's no like memory wastage on C++, but it was a serious barrier of entry to writing contracts on EOS. So if you're going from Ethereum to EOS, get ready for a real wake-up call, because it is not easy to write contracts on there. But the nice benefit is that you're straight up is working and manipulating a table on EOS, like a database table. So it's much easier to, like, I know on Solidity you can't get like number of elements. You have to have a variable that you increment every time you create a new element. Where on EOS you can just give it a primary key on your database and just query how many items you have on there, which is really convenient. But yeah, easier to make Solidity smart contracts, hard to make EOS contracts, in my opinion. But yeah, what else? Let me think. Oh, but the APIs and working with the EOS contracts is so much easier once you have the contract deployed. Like there was a Swift EOS library that I used. You should just type in the endpoint, and then you type in the contract name, your account, and you import the your private key, and then you can just run the operation you just call the operation as a string, and you can do whatever you want with it. And then you pass in a JSON, which is much easier than the other implementations I've worked with, Web3, especially on Swift. It's much more complex. So they have after you build the contract, EOS is much easier to work with.
All right. I guess my last question is, so I was having a conversation with somebody earlier today, and they have a development shop that's like 75% Web 2 development and 25% Web 3. And, I said, like, 10 years down the road, the two sides of your shop, they're going to be one and the same, because blockchain development is essentially a web technology.
Yeah.
And I say that with a stronger background in Ethereum and some of the Satoshi chains. Do you think that holds true in EOS and that sort of environment?
Yeah, so I think EOS is especially that if they figure out how to make the contract making process much easier, where you're straight up just manipulating a database table and not having to worry about anything else. If they make that easier, then I think the two will mix, because whoever your operator is gonna be like, I just want a blockchain on this. Instead of using a straight up database, I'm just going to use EOS's database, which is the same exact thing, but something else happens to the back end, which I don't worry about or care about. It's the same process, right? Which I hope just happens, where the processes of writing smart contracts and working with a regular database become the same, and where 99% of developers don't have to worry about it. It's like how most developers don't have to go in and write C libraries, because someone 10 years ago wrote the perfect C library that gets the job done. No one has to write them anymore. So I'm hoping that same thing happens here, where it's like you don't have to care what it does. You just need to know it's blockchain, and someone can't change the information, and just write the code as you would. And if we look at it from that perspective, I think, yeah, it's gonna be like Web 2.5 or everyone's Web 3 if it becomes that simple. But again, gas costs and all that stuff has to go away.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. Well, man, we have a decentralized team, Drew, but we most of us are in Memphis, Tennessee, which is just down the street from you, from St. Louis, compared to San Francisco. And what's that?
I'm in Columbia, Missouri.
Oh, you're in Columbia? Okay. Well, so I say that to it's a shorter drive than San Francisco, I think. So, or Africa. But, dude, keep us in mind for, if you see any, I mean, we've got more and more events happening in our area where Web3 Devs is trying to help promote and facilitate more blockchain activity in Memphis. And we're a big logistics hub and all that. And agriculture is a very, of interest space too. So if you ever, see anything happening around the Memphis scene and want to head down, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to, put you up somewhere or whatever, help you navigate the city and everything.
Yeah.
So just to kind of wrap things up, we got Drew Patel here of Pollinate that we connected with out in San Francisco at the EOS Hackathon. What do you, oh wait, of course I've got something on my computer making a noise. Sorry. Okay. Someone's trying to call me on somewhere. Anyway, what are you actively promoting, or what would you like to get the word out about? While you're here.
Hold on. So I think. Okay, so let's talk about identity company, because this is chain agnostic. So right now I'm working on an identity platform called identifying.me. We're changing the name to digiport.me because identifying is too hard for me to spell. But it's a very simple platform that I think is missing, which is we want to make reusable identity, which anyone can use. They pull up their phone, they connect with LinkedIn and whatever other API provider they want. We'd offer a buffet of them. They can just pick which ones they want and verify their identity and reuse it as much as they want on any platform without giving away too much information. So if platform asks if this person's a US citizen and an accredited investor, on device, we connect to the API, get your bank information, look at your balances, and store that all on your device. We wouldn't even see it. And then it'd be like, this meets the US standards for accredited investor. And then when say Bitphoenix or whatever asks, we'll be like, yep, US accredited investor. You don't need to know anything more. And we do that all in a seamless platform on the phone. So that's the one I'll pimp, I guess.
Nice. That's a good needed project right there.
Is there a hyperlink that we can?
Yeah, it's identifying.me.
Identifying.me.
Yeah.
And would you like me to throw your Twitter and LinkedIn URLs in the description of the video?
Oh yeah, go for it. But I really don't retweet much. I'm very self-conscious that everyone else that follows me is probably like, what is this blockchain stuff? So I don't tweet much. And my LinkedIn consists of memes about people becoming ICO advisors after looking up how to launch an ICO in 15 minutes. So yeah.
Well, now I definitely want to follow those. Awesome. Well, Drew, appreciate your time today. And Aaron, thanks for joining as well. And once again, this is Web3 Talks, and this is brought to you by Web3 Devs. We provide blockchain consulting and blockchain development. So if you have any projects that you're needing some help with, then please reach out. And Drew, keep us updated on what you're working on. We'd love to have you back in the future for an update on things and what's happening up in Missouri.
Definitely.
All right, so we'll sign off for now, and thanks a lot for viewing. Bye, everybody.
Take care.